In this video, we're going to talk about photosynthesis and respiration. We're going to define photosynthesis and respiration, as well as look at their general chemical formulas. And we're going to look at the energy that's created from respiration and how it is used in organisms. So firstly, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is how plants get their energy. They harness the energy from the sun and use this to create sugar, or in particular glucose. Photosynthesis would not occur without an enzyme that's found in plants called chlorophyll. And this enzyme is found inside a structure within the cell called chloroplasts. And from junior years, you'll know that plants take in carbon dioxide into their leaves and expel oxygen, and that's where we get the oxygen from, and that you need to water plants for them to take in water in the roots. So from this, we can look at the basic equation for photosynthesis. Now, when we write equations, firstly, we put the reactants on the right-hand side. So these are the things that are reacting and are needed for the equation. So in this case, it's the carbon dioxide that's being absorbed by the leaves and the water that's being absorbed by the roots. We then have an arrow, and the arrow shows which way the reaction is occurring. Now in this case, for photosynthesis, this reaction does not occur if there isn't chlorophyll and light. So if you get a plant and you put it in a cupboard, it's not going to photosynthesize. So to show that we need the chlorophyll and light, however, it's not something that's used by the reaction, so we can't measure it. We put those two words above and below the arrow. And then on the right-hand side, we have our products. And our products in this case are sugar and oxygen. So the oxygen is expelled from the leaves, and the sugar is kept within the plant for use around the plant. So we have carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight reacts to form sugar, and in particular glucose, and oxygen. Respiration occurs in all organisms, and it's the process by which sugars are broken down to release energy, and that's the energy that we use to survive. This reaction is what's called exothermic, which means that it releases heat, and that's how we warm our bodies, by this respiration reaction. Now, respiration, when we talk about this type of respiration, is cellular respiration. It occurs on a cellular level. It's not related to the respiratory system. Okay, so respiration, breathing, that's a different thing. This is cellular respiration, which occurs inside the cell. Now, the basic equation for respiration is very similar but opposite to that for photosynthesis. So as you know, we need to breathe in oxygen, and we also need to eat. And in particular, what our body does is it breaks down the things we eat into sugars. So the reactants in this case are sugar and oxygen. Now these react to form carbon dioxide, which we breathe out, as well as some water. Now the amount of water that's produced isn't very much considering, which is why we need to drink water, otherwise we'll die. So some water is produced, but it's not our main source of water in the body. And the important thing is that energy is released. So this is us breaking sugar down to get energy. So the formula is sugar plus oxygen reacts to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Now you'll notice here that we don't have light or chlorophyll above the arrow. This is because the respiration does not require light. Us being an animal that respiration occurs in, you could hide in the cupboard and eat packets and packets of biscuits, and your body is still going to get the energy from these biscuits. It does not need light for this reaction to occur. You can also see in this reaction that it is pretty much the reverse of photosynthesis. So where photosynthesis, the products are the sugar and oxygen. In this case, the reactants are the sugar and oxygen, and vice versa. The way that organisms use energy can be remembered by the acronym Mrs. Gren. So it's like Mrs. Green, think green for plants, but it's Mrs. Gren. And they are movement, so the organism moving around, respiration, so in this case we're talking about making that heat for the organism to survive, sensitivity to the surroundings, so sensing the surroundings, hearing, smelling, feeling, all these sorts of senses, growth, getting bigger, reproduction, producing offspring, excretion, excreting wastes from the body, as well as nutrition, in taking in nutrients from the food that we eat, so digestion in this case. In this video, we have looked at photosynthesis, being the way in which plants harness the energy from the light, using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of chlorophyll and light to produce glucose and oxygen. We've looked at respiration in the way in which all organisms break down sugar to produce energy with the formula glucose plus oxygen reacts to form carbon dioxide plus water and, importantly, energy. We've also looked at how that energy is used throughout the organism and the acronym to remember how that's used, which is Mrs. Gren.